Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor.
Welcome back, everyone. We're joined in studio by Dominic Aiello from Kershaw Knives. We're talking about just some of the things that might make your life a little bit easier in the woods, in the boat, on the skis, in your car. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why having a knife like what we're showing you are very, very useful. But let alone you guys make everything, right? You make scissors, you make different shears, knives, of course, fillet knives, things that we use, skinners for all of us hunters, which, by the way, a couple of them are pretty darn impressive. I don't have them, but I want them.
We'll make that happen.
Okay, I want them bad. But scissors right now. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be like, okay, well, they're just scissors. Yes, they are. They're just scissors. But they're also extremely heavy duty. And if you needed to take a bird apart, okay, this is where I use these mostly. Grouse is where I really learned how to do an entire bird with a pair of scissors. You don't even need a knife. If I wanted to breast out any bird, I could do that with a pair of scissors. These things are phenomenal. But one of the things you mentioned a little bit ago, these are also imported, but they still fall underneath the same warranty that's available even from the higher end version of the Kershaw products. Is that right?
Yeah, all of our imported products go through a QC process here in the U.S. To make sure that they meet the standards that we have for the U.S. products, and they're still covered by our limited lifetime warranty. So, you know, anything goes wrong that's defective with it, we'll either fix it or replace it. On top of that, you know, our pocket knives and things, free replacement parts. So you're in the garage and your pocket clips get snagged on a shelf or something and snaps off.
Sure.
Go to our website, fill out a form, and we'll send you a free pocket clip.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, now I've done that before. I might even have a couple. I didn't know that was even available. That might be something to think about. I know I have received this question before when you're talking about shears. What was the original purpose for these? Do you know?
They're kitchen shears. They're poultry shears.
Okay, so that's what they were originally made for, was cutting up chickens and stuff like that. Okay, so there you go. There's a reason why we use them as much as we do.
I use them, you know, as a bird hunter. Occasionally you'll get the survey where you have to send in the wings and the tail feathers.
Yeah, and grass and stuff, sure.
Yeah, I've used those ridiculously amounts for those. The notch right there is great for wing bones, and it's perfect.
Yeah, no, you can take a look here again on that Kershaw Tech Cam. You can see the little notch he's referring to. You get the wing bone in there, and it's an easy snip to get those off. But there's a lot of fishermen out there, fishermen and women that are watching, that are like, quit talking about duck hunting. Okay, well, let's talk a little fishing, right? You got to have a fillet knife, right? This is a 9.5. We showed you this last week, or the week before last, I should say. There's different versions. There's a 7.5, 9.5, and I think there's even a bigger one. But the first thing I noticed, okay, other than noticing that this was an imported product, okay, which again is not a bad thing. You still get that same warranty. This blade, I don't know if you can see this, okay? Ooh, watch it, dummy. This blade is so flexible. When you're talking about filleting fish, it doesn't matter if it's a steelhead, if it's a trout, or if it's a Chinook. To do it right, you got to have a blade that's going to have some flex to it. This is impressive. Very, very nice. Have you used this yourself? I know you don't fish a lot.
Yeah, that one's for my personal collection.
Okay.
And I have used it to fillet some fish. I also use it for boning out turkey.
Oh,
and you can get along the breastbone real easy with that, and it flexes really well.
Right.
And then also just cutting up big game meat.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, well, of course, because we have to use that for so many different reasons when you're butchering up a deer, an elk, or whatever else it might be. So, okay, so other options. How many different sizes are there of the fillet knife?
There's a 7.5, the 9.5, and a 12-inch.
Okay, go to Fishman's. They're just really nice. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of different fillet knives that are on the market, but you got to take into consideration the cost. How many of them do you want? Myself personally, I want 3 or 4 of them in my boat, other than, of course, the mandatory knife that's up by the anchor nest, which is mandatory, has to be there. But to have a couple of knives in the boat, it's nice when you can do that and still have a quality product, especially one from an Oregon company. Okay, so this is one that I've been looking at. I really like this. This is just a small, I love the sheath. What's this one called, and kind of what's the purpose for a knife designed like that one, which you have obviously used?
I have, yeah. That's the Deschutes caper. It's paired with our Deschutes skinner.
Okay.
So the skinner's a larger, self-explanatory in the name, right? It's meant for, pulling skin off, breaking down the big muscle. Yep, exactly. And this is the little brother to it, meant for more fine work, breaking down the individual muscles, smaller game as well. and it's got a nice sheath with it. And it uses D2 blade steel, which holds the edge really long time. So, you know, when you're breaking down a deer or an elk, you shouldn't have to resharpen.
Gotcha.
Should be able to make it all the way through.
Okay, so here recently, about a month or so ago, I got the opportunity to utilize the roadkill program in Oregon. My Chevy Silverado, it likes blacktail, apparently. Dang it. But I had to break one down, and I had a knife that I had to continually sharpen. Is that because the metal is just maybe, it wasn't designed specifically for cleaning or processing deer in that particular case? Does it always fall down to the metallurgy or the metal itself when you're talking about being able to hold an edge, or is there something that we can do as end users to sharpen it in such a way that it might hold an edge longer? Yeah,
there's two things. Number one, blade steel plays a big role in that. The lesser expensive models are going to have a steel that is easier to sharpen, but you have to sharpen it more often.
Okay.
Something like D2 or MagnaCount, which is on the Bel Air and the automatic out the front there, they are going to hold their edge a long time, but they're also going to be harder to resharpen.
What's your way of, okay, so let's go there. If you've got a harder metal, a better blade in theory, okay, is there a process or a way that you would recommend over another to sharpen it more effectively?
Well, you were talking about like how to sharpen so that maybe the edge lasts a little longer. The degree that you sharpen the blade to can determine how long it holds it. So if you have a really, really fine, sharp blade edge, it's going to dull much quicker because that blade steel is so thin at the edge.
Gotcha.
If you do more of what they call like a working edge, which is a little bit less of a degree, so it's not going to be as sharp, but it will hold that angle a little bit longer.
So just, okay. All right, listen, I want to dive in. We get this question a lot, so we're going to utilize an expert here. When we come back from this break, we're going to continue our conversation with Dominic. I want to talk specifically about that sharpening process. The first thing that pops in my mind is a work sharp, which is a fantastic sharpener when you're talking about knives. Possibly, arguably, the most popular way to sharpen a knife here in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, because it's a local company, is that work sharp, where you can actually put different angles, different bevels into those blades, and what he's referring to as to why you would do that. Because I know that my edges go out fast, and it's got to be the way that I'm sharpening. Anyway, we'll be back in just a couple of minutes to talk with Dominic.
Outdoor GPS is brought to you by Yakima Bait, steeped in tradition, innovation, and fishing success. And by Procure Bait Sense, ruthlessly effective.